Hey guys, well, welcome back to Old Time Garage. As you can see from the last video where we left off, Bruce's car was not in primer and we've got her all primered up now. We've given it a couple good coats of filler primer. I finished it off actually in 80 grit. I always finish everything off in 80 grit sandpaper. And then gave it 2 good coats of filler primer. And right now we're just spraying our guide coat on here. And we're doing our blocking. There's all sorts of different blocks you can use, you know, there's various ones, all your automotive stores have got them. Guide coat, if you're wondering what guide coat is, how you see this sprayed is actually how guide coat sprays out. It sprays out, I don't know if you call it blotchy or speckly or whatever you guys want to call it, but this is how it sprays out, that is how it is. What guide coat is when you've got a car primered like this, you spray your guide coat on, and you don't necessarily have to use this that you buy from an automotive store. You can use anything you've got around. You could use a rattle can of paint if you wanted. It doesn't matter. What you're doing is you're just spraying, it's just a different color, you're spraying it on there, and it comes out looking like that, and then what you do is you take your block, depending, if you've got a curve, like this is a soft pad right here. This pad is perfect on curves and stuff like that. This is a hard pad. There's no bending here whatsoever. And this is more used like on flat surfaces back and forth. But this is perfect on curves. So a good example of what the guide coat would do is if you're sanding this like this, for an example. And, I should actually have a new piece of sandpaper on here, but we don't. But we'll see what's going to go on. Okay, well, oops, I must have done too good a job here. Maybe that's the problem. Anyway, what guide coat does is when you're sanding, if there's any areas where you've got a low spot, obviously, because this is a flat surface you've got right here, you're sanding. And you're sanding, this is more the block for this panel in here. You're sanding with this here. So if there was a low spot in here, the guide coat obviously is still going to show because the sander's not going to hit it. It's like anything, you know, if you've got a flat surface and you've got a dip here, you're only going to be sanding here and here, the dip's still, so that lets you know. It's just, and that explains the name of it, guide coat. It lets you know. Now like I say, if you don't have a lot of money and you don't want to go down and buy guide coat, you can use any kind of rattle can paint you got laying around the house. It doesn't matter, you just give it a light coat, you don't cover the whole thing fully, you just splash it on like that, and that's the answer to that. You'll have to pardon me. On some of my videos, I've been mentioning a few things of what I do and how I do it, and as you all know, I just started these videos recently, and all of a sudden I kind of watched them and I kind of thought, you know what? I kind of said something wrong there and something wrong there, and because some of you guys out there might be just picking up tips from me and learning, and I'm not a teacher, so I'm using a lot of slang. Sometimes I'm saying I'm going to sand this area and repaint this one. Really, I'm not going to sand it because I'm just going to grab some Scotch-Brite and fix an area instead of sanding it, like if I was doing a blend-in with clear coat or something. So I apologize, and I'm going to try and watch a little more of what I say in case you guys are trying to learn stuff out there and you want to pick up some good tips. So I'll be a little more cautious of what I say. And for you guys that are out there doing it all the time, you know what I'm doing and you know what I mean and you know I've got it right. So anyway, we're doing the jobs right, obviously, because look at all the cars around us. So here's Bruce's car. Like I say, we've got it in the primer. That's it. We're going to finish blocking it down this week. We're blocking it with 180 right now. Like I told you, I finished it off in 80 grit, primered it, blocking it 180. Then I'm going to re-primer the car. Then we will re-block it. We'll start with 220. We'll work our way up to 320. We'll go to 400, and we'll probably finish it off with 500. And then it's ready for paint, and it'll be as smooth as a baby's ass. So there we go. So hopefully next week, Bruce's car is all ready to go for paint, and we'll get her painted up. Anyway, let's move on into the other bay here, and we'll see what's going on. If you remember, I had the pickup box that I had put together for Mikey's truck. Well, I've got it set up on here, on his truck now. It's all kind of mocked up. I've already had the box, long before we were doing the body work, I had the box all bolted together back and forth and made sure everything fit correctly. The reason we're putting it all back together like this right now, just of a few bolts here and there, is Mikey has found some very rare optional chrome that goes on the fenders here. There's 3 strips that go here and 3 strips that continue on to the rear fenders. So we got to get the box all situated at the right height where it would be sitting, and we got to set his rear fenders on here and put the bolts in. And then we will level the truck out and we'll put it on stands to make sure it's perfectly level. And then what we'll do is we'll line the chrome up here where it should go, where it properly fits, tape it on, measure it out, and then we will drill our holes. It's a good idea to do this way beforehand. It's a good thing that he's got it now and he's brought it to us now, because you could do it after the truck's painted, but if you slip or make a mistake, wow, you know, like now you're fixing a repair, and it's just, this is a good way to do it. So not only that, drilling the holes in the fender, I like to see paint in these holes. I don't like it when people drill afterwards and it's just bare metal and they bolt their part on and they just leave it. That's where you get all these rust lines that creep down in behind things. So it's not a good idea. So it's an awesome idea that he's putting the chrome on it now, and we're going to get the holes drilled. Then we'll take the truck back apart, and basically this truck is ready to be final blocked. And then we'll be painting this truck, and then we'll be putting the glass all back in it and bolting it back together, and this girl will be on her way. So on our first video, if you remember, we had a little 41 Dodge I showed you that was out in the back in the storage area that I've been working on for a year now. Well, we brought her in here, decided to get going on it, do a little more work. If you remember last week, the Mercedes was on the hoist, and I've taken the Mercedes to the German mechanic and let him deal with that, because I don't want to have any problems with it. It's bad enough I got to do the body work on it, and I didn't want to, so he can get it running. So anyway, what we're doing with the little 41, there were some holes here where there would be some cowl lights. The owner has decided he does not want the cowl lights. So we grind it away here, got it down to the bare metal, welded up the holes, and now we'll just repair the body work that's needed to be repaired here, and that's taken care of. And then inside, the owner has also brought me some aftermarket gauges. He originally was going to put the original gauges back in the truck, which were rectangular, and the center one was a round gauge for the Speedo. So he decided to go aftermarket. So I welded in metal, welded up the holes, and now I've recut the holes out here for those gauges, and I just got to cut this hole out for the Speedo. The owner has also decided, after I did my beautiful floor work here, that he decided to go with a shifter like this. It's a low-car shifter, excellent choice. But unfortunately I had to cut the floor out because I have to change the floor height to accommodate for the shifter. No big deal, the shifter's in there now, it's all mocked up, everything's working fine. So tomorrow we'll get in here and we'll weld the floor up, and we'll fix all that up, and that'll be awesome, it'll be all done up. So that is about it for this week, and like I say, I'll try and get a little better on explaining things to some of you novice guys out there that are trying to learn, and for you guys that know all about this stuff, you know what I'm talking about, so it's all good. So the weekend is gone, and we're going to get right off subject here. And this past weekend there was a swap meet down in Puyallup. I can't remember who it's put on by, but it's a vintage car swap meet. They have several. There was one earlier in February, and there was one in March. And this weekend was the March swap meet. Now, we're going to have a rant and a rave session here